Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Why China didn't allow mRNA vaccine and it still doesn't allow it to this date. First, let's say what other countries didn't allow it. China, India, Russia use their own vaccine and they don't contain mRNA. Brazil and Iran, the majority of their vaccines are not mRNA. The reason I point out these 5 countries is because they are major countries and have very big populations. China, India, Russia have 3 billion people in total. Brazil and Iran have 300 million people. So these 5 countries already have 3.3 billion people. Most countries, they use a mix of different vaccines. Some are mRNA, some are not. So the situation are different from country to country. One argument is China wanted to buy Pfizer vaccine, but they didn't reach a deal because China thinks it's so expensive, so they have problem on the price. But I think this is not true, because we know that when China did the zero COVID in the past 3 years, the cost was much bigger than any vaccine. I think it's because when China wanted to buy from Pfizer, it asked for Pfizer to disclose all the information. And now we know that there are over 3,000 side effects from Pfizer vaccine. So Pfizer couldn't do that. Otherwise, China will know Pfizer product has many problems and they will not buy it. For example, if you want to buy a house, you check it and found many problems, you will either don't buy it or you tell them to lower price, because the house has so many problems. So now we want to see how many people have taken the mRNA vaccine. We already discussed the 3.3 billion people and also the vaccination rate in China, India, Russia, 90%. And in Brazil and Iran, about 80%. So the vaccination rate is very high. So out of these 3.3 billion people, we can say about 3 billion people are vaccinated. And the majority, or just about nearly all of them, have taken the vaccine that's not mRNA. And also, we need to calculate all the other countries, in the rest of Asia, in Latin America, in Africa. In Africa, there are very few people took vaccine and they didn't have a pandemic. They also didn't have excess deaths. So they're just normal. So but we can calculate, for all these other countries, some have taken the non-mRNA vaccine. So we can get the number about 3.5 billion people who have taken the non-mRNA vaccine. Also, I want to note here is that here in Australia, many people, they didn't take vaccine, but they bought vaccine certificate from doctors, from nurse, from some healthcare center. And also I know in America, some people, they also bought certificate from somewhere. So actually the real number of people who are vaccinated are lower than the government data. But here we can calculate, But here we can say about 3.5 billion people have taken the non-mRNA vaccine. And they say that 70% of the world population are vaccinated. We have 8 billion people, so that's 5.6 billion people have taken the vaccine. And 5.6 minus 3.5 is 2.1 billion people. So these are the people who have taken the mRNA vaccine, at least based on the numbers. But we know the real numbers is lower than this, because many people, they bought certificate. And also the reason they buy it is because some countries in the past 2-3 years, they have this vaccine mandates, which require people, you must have this certificate in order to work, to do some work, or to use the public transportation or go travel, things like that. So that's why for some people, they really needed this certificate. So that's why they took the vaccine or they bought the certificate. So anyway, the numbers should be lower than the 2.1 billion, but we can say, let's say 2 billion. I think this is a very good estimate. So 2 billion out of 8 billion people, that's 25%. So 1 in 4 people have taken the mRNA vaccine. So if you have taken it, you know you are in the minority. And we should always believe in science. We should always look at the facts. So the science says that the vaccines are basically not working as like the companies say they should. And we know that after a few months, there's basically just completely no use. And also now Pfizer, the companies, they say themselves that it doesn't stop transmission. And also when they do the animal trial, all the animals were dead, and they didn't even test for transmission. This is all from Pfizer, their own words. So now we know that the vaccines are not very good. And also the fact is that all these companies, mRNA vaccine companies, they got this immunity from the government, natural immunity, not natural immunity. We have natural immunity. They have like financial immunity. So basically, if there's anything wrong with their product, they are not liable for any damage or responsibility. So if you have taken this mRNA vaccine, you didn't believe in science. You didn't look at the facts. So that's why I want to come to my last point, is that my disappointment in some countries. Like here in Australia, the government, the way it handled this whole pandemic, and also with all the vaccine mandates, the requirements, and the measures, just now we know that they are just not totally, but just wrong. And we know that now all these requirements are already dropped. So it would have been better if they were never put in place in the beginning, to begin with. So we say that like before, people think that they should trust the government, but from this situation we say that the government in Australia is not very good or responsible. I mean, it's at least not in the best interest of the people. So we should all take note in that. And similar to Australia, we have countries like New Zealand, Canada, most countries in Europe. They all basically failures. And but one exception I found is Bulgaria. The government data says 30% people took the first dose, and also 30% took the second dose. So I think their government, they put a very good number, because for most countries, the number taking 1 dose and the 2 doses are different. But for Bulgaria, they just say 30% for both. So I think their government have done a really good job. And also we know that we look at the data from EU. They say that in the last year, 2022, Bulgaria has the lowest excess deaths in all of European Union, which is also something to think about. I'm also very disappointed in East Asia, the rich Asian countries, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, all have vaccination rates over 80%. And also, most of their vaccine are the mRNA. So they are also total failures. To my surprise, there are also the Muslim countries that the reason is that in Islam they don't really like vaccine. They believe in natural immunity, because when people trust God, when you believe in God, you know that your health, your body, your immune systems are all from God. So you should trust God. You should trust yourself. And I think but we say that in Saudi Arabia, in Turkey, Morocco, Tunisia, Pakistan, all these countries have vaccination rates 60%, which is very high for Muslims. And it's also very disappointing, and they also, all these countries, they also had some vaccine mandates. For example, if you didn't take it, you couldn't use public transportation. So what I mean by all this is that I won't consider live in those countries. Actually, I live here very soon, so I'm very excited for my new life. So I think there are so many to consider when we look at from this whole COVID situation. So thank you for watching.